One of my biggest issues when it comes to buying books is that I buy so many books without knowing anything about it, anything at all. I know nothing about this book. I've seen it once on TikTok or Instagram or something, once. And I think, yes, I want this. For what reason? I don't know. I just want it, okay? So I get it. So that's why I'm on here right now. I'm coming onto YouTube to make a list of all the books that I need to read by the end of 2022 and of books that I have no interest in reading, so that hopefully someone in the comments can convince me to at least read one of them. This is my first YouTube video ever. I have filmed so many YouTube videos and I've just not been happy with the way that any of them have turned out, so they're probably not going to make it onto YouTube. But this video right here, I have a feeling this is the one. I have a feeling this is the one that's going to end up on YouTube. And I really hope that it is, because I really want to start posting content on YouTube. I've wanted to for so long. If you are watching this, then it means that I decided that this video is worthy of being uploaded. So here we are. I've seen a couple of booktubers that I watch posting videos along the lines of books that they need to read before 2022 is over or before 2023, that kind of vibe. And I thought, hey, this sounds like a really fun idea. I have a massive TBR. I'm currently in the process of forcing myself to read the entire thing. My goal at the moment is to at least read all of my standalones that I have and the first book in each series. I don't want to force myself to read the whole series, because I'm the kind of person who will start a series and then not read the rest of the series for a while, and then when I feel like it again, pick it up. Especially if I really like the series, I don't want to rush through it because I want to make it last forever. I have way too many experiences where I've read series too quickly and then suddenly it's over, and then I get really sad because the series is over and I still want to read more of it. Like, there's still so much more in that series that I want to read. So I try to pace myself through series so that I can make it last longer. If you follow me on TikTok, you would have seen a while ago I posted a video, and it was just a video of me with my books, and it had this massive like text thing on it. And it was talking about how I own 150 books that I haven't read. Yeah. And a lot of them come from that story that I told at the start of the video, where I have bought books that I have no interest in reading, and that is now on that 150 book TBR. Where I am just sitting here and I'm like, I have no interest in reading that, but I feel pressured to read it. I feel like I have to read it because I own it. I don't want to get rid of it because, you know, I like having books on my shelf. So in this video, I'm going to talk about, there's going to be two parts. One part is going to be the books that I need to finish before 2022 is over, and those books are going to be ones that I actually am motivated to read. I'm in the mood for them now. And then the second half of this video is going to be books that I've bought that I no longer have any interest in. I'm hoping that someone can convince me to read these books, because at this point I'm just not interested at all in reading these books. So a few things that I wanted to talk about before I get into the actual topics of the video is that I'm a pretty slow reader. Not in the sense that it takes me ages to, you know, read a page. I could pretty quickly read a page. It's more just I get through books really slowly. Especially if I'm not vibing the book, I struggle to motivate myself to pick it back up again. If I am enjoying a book, I will be thinking about it all the time. I'll be wanting to continuously pick it up. But if I'm not liking a book a lot, I don't really feel like picking it up again. For example, I just read Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and that is one of my new favorite books. I read that so quick because I, you know, kept picking it up, because every second that I wasn't reading it, I was thinking about it. And I don't continue reading a book if I don't like it. I DNF so many books. I will start reading it and just be like, no, I'm not vibing with this, and I'll either, it's like I know I'm not in the mood for it, but I will enjoy it, so I just put it back on my shelf. And most of the time I literally leave a bookmark in it so that I know where I was up to, and I'll put it back on my shelf and, you know, pick it up again in the future. And some books I just know that I will hate it, and I just am like, no, there's no way I'm ever gonna read this. If you go to my Goodreads, you will see that I rate so many books 5 stars and 4 stars. I rate books very highly. The reason for that isn't that I just like hand out 5-star and 4 stars to like every book. It's more just that I know what books I like, and I read books when I'm in the mood to read them. And so if I'm not in the mood to read it, I will literally put it away and not read it. And then if I am in the mood to read it, I'll pick it up and read it. And if I like it, which most of the time I do, I feel like the timing of me reading books and the books that I pick out to read are all just books that I know I'll like. And if I don't like it, I will just not finish it. And so I don't rate books low very often because I don't often finish them. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I'm hoping it does. Anyway, I've been talking for a really long time, so I'm going to get into the actual topic of this video. And I'm going to start with the books that I want to finish before 2022 is over. And these books, I'm going to do it in two separate parts. So one part is going to be books that I haven't finished reading yet, books that I've started reading and haven't finished, because I have spoken about that a lot this video, and I actually have a few books that I'm going to talk about that I did start reading and that I just never finished. I have 4 books that I'm going to talk about in this section of the book, and 3 of them are romances and 1 of them is a fantasy book. To start with, I'm going to talk about the fantasy book. So I started reading Kingdom of the Wicked. Let's check how far in I am. See, I told you, I literally leave the bookmark in here. I'm 94 pages in, so I'm almost 100 pages into this book. Am I loving it? Yeah, it's really cool. I am really enjoying it's set in Italy and I'm loving that. It's about witches, which I'm loving, and it's gonna be like an enemies to lovers, I think. I don't know if it's enemies to lovers or like forbidden lovers even, I guess. I don't know. This is another thing about me. I am so bad at identifying book tropes. And so, like, I see so many videos of people being like, oh, these book tropes, these book tropes. I don't know. Like, half the time I don't know what the book trope is. And if someone says, oh, it's this, I'm like, oh yeah, I see that. But I can't read a book and then be like, oh, it's this trope. There's some that I know really well that I could identify, but just knowing what tropes are in books is just not one of my strengths. But anyway, I think, from my opinion, I would guess that this could be either enemies to lovers or forbidden lovers almost. And I feel like it might be forced proximity, kind of, because it's like, oh, I can't even remember. Anyway, I am really enjoying this book. But I've been in a massive fantasy slump recently where I've really just been wanting to read romances, so I have just not been in the mood to read this. So I think that's why I haven't finished this, because I've not been in a fantasy mood. But I feel like I will eventually pick this back up and love it, because I've loved what I've read so far. I just don't think I'm in the mood to read it. But I do want to try and finish this before the end of this year, because, you know, out of these 4 books, that's 4 more books that could get checked off my Goodreads challenge. Is that what it's called? My Goodreads reading challenge? That sounds so weird. But there's 4 more books that could get checked off that. So, but anyway, Kingdom of the Wicked. That's book number 1. Book number 2, I actually think that I started reading this last year, but don't quote me, I can't actually remember. The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. Now, if you follow my TikTok or my Instagram, you know that Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren is one of my favorite romance books of all time. I love it so much. And I actually read this before I read Love and Other Words, and I didn't hate it. I did find it a little boring, but other than that, I did really enjoy what I was reading so far. I am 170 pages in. I'm literally like halfway through, and again, bookmark. So, you know, I've read quite a lot of this book, and it was enjoyable. I am really liking it so far. As I said, it's a little bit boring, but other than that, I am enjoying it, and it is something that I would pick up and keep reading. I think the reason why I haven't picked this up yet is because, for those of you who don't know, I live in Australia. And this is something that I get really frustrated about. Australian seasons are different to American seasons, right? So whenever I'm posting like summer book recs and it's the middle of winter for Americans, they're like, but it's not summer, summer just finished. And I'm like, guys, other parts of the world exist. And it just makes me so mad. And I'm sorry if that sounds rude, but it just makes me so frustrated because it's just so, like unaware and just so self-centered. So I've been holding off to read this in summer. Summer is now approaching for Australia and we're in spring at the moment. So I think I might finish this in December before the end of the year, but during summer. Next is a book that I started reading a while ago, and it's by an author that I really like, but it was really cringe and I was struggling to get through it, and it is Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. Don't yell at me, okay? I got, oh, I didn't leave a bookmark in this one. Okay, so my camera just died and I feel like this angle is not exactly the same as it was before, but I'm just gonna keep going. So I was talking about Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. I didn't get that far into this book, I don't think, and please don't yell at me, but I did cringe. I did find some of it cringe. I remember one particular part where she drank out of the same bottle of water as the love interest. And she was like, oh my God, we practically kissed. And I was like, girl, what? No. Oh, it just like took me back to like primary school when, you know, you'd have a crush on someone and you'd give them your drink bottle because they needed some water and they'd drink out of it. And then you'd go up to your friends and be like, oh my God, he drank out of my drink bottle, we practically kissed. And it just literally made me cringe so much. And I got really put off this book. And so I wasn't planning on reading it at all. I honestly put it back on my shelf thinking I'm never gonna pick this up again. It was just too cringe, I just couldn't deal with it. But then since then, so many booktubers and TikTokers that I trust have talked about this and said that the ending is just so good and that they loved it so much. So I am gonna give this another go. I'm gonna push through the cringe. I'm gonna get through it and I will get back to you once I've read it. Okay, so the last book that I haven't finished this year, I did it as a part of a read-along, and I was doing 2 read-alongs that week. So I was reading this book and another book, and I have figured out that I struggle to read 2 books at once, so I didn't end up getting through it. I read as much as I had to for the read along and then just couldn't find the motivation to pick it up again, and I got in a bit of a slump after that. And I just think that because I was reading 2 books at once, I just got, and the other book I really enjoyed, I got kind of put off this one because of that. I don't know. Anyway, the book is The American Roommate Experiment. And when I first started reading this, I really enjoyed it. And I actually, you know what, I don't think I read as much as I was supposed to. I only got up to page 88, but I did my live stream that I had to do. I talked about the book and I watched the other live streams, so I did get a few like little spoilers for it, but that's okay. But I literally only got to page 88. I just could not read more than 1 book at once, and I really struggled with this. I was enjoying it so far, and I do really want to finish it because I like the concept of it. And I tried to pick it up the other day, and I have been trying to listen to the audiobook as well to try and like get through it. But I'm really hoping that I can finish this before the end of the year, because I know that reading these books that I've already started could so help my reading goal, and I really want to achieve it. Granted, it is only 40 books that I want to read because, as I said, I'm a slow reader. Now onto the second section of the books I want to read before the end of this year. And a lot of them are books that I've had for a while that I just haven't got around to reading, and the fact that I haven't read some of these books is embarrassing to say the least. So for these books, there is 7 books that I want to read, and we have 2 fantasies, and I think the others are all romances. So again, I'm just going to start with the fantasies because they're on top of the pile. So these are all the books. You don't get to know what they are yet. So firstly, we have 6 of Crows. Now, okay, let me explain. I read Shadow and Bone last year, and I did really like Shadow and Bone. It wasn't life-changing or mind-blowing, and it wasn't like my favorite of all time or anything like that, but it was enjoyable. And then I read Siege and Storm, and I got halfway through, and I never finished it. Now, hear me out. I might pick it up again and read it in the future, but I don't know, it just wasn't something that I was super vibing with at that point in time, and so I never finished it. That sort of just put me off the whole Grisha-verse, I think that's how you say it, and so I haven't read this. But little story time, I actually bought 6 of Crows before I even knew that it was a part of the Grisha-verse, and before I even knew about Shadow and Bone. I bought this book because I literally read the back of it and was like, this sounds so good and so interesting. And then I found out about the Grisha-verse, and that you're supposed to read Shadow and Bone first and read that whole trilogy first because it has spoilers in here about those, and so I wanted to read all of them. So I put this off, but I don't know, I've just like not been motivated to read it because the fact that I didn't enjoy Siege and Storm. So this is one that I do want to try and read by the end of the year, look, I have a feeling I might just read this and not finish the other trilogy, but I don't know. I'll see. Next, we have Dance of Thieves. I bought this so long ago. I didn't really know what it was about when I bought it, but the cover was so gorgeous. So that's why I bought this, was because of the cover. But I just haven't got around to reading it. I think I'm a little intimidated because it is like a thick book. I think one of my friends, Gracie, and I are going to do this as a buddy read. So I don't know if we'll do it before the end of the year or not, but I am hoping we will buddy read this before the end of the year because I really want to read this. All right, on to the romance books that I want to read before the end of the year. I bought this book ages ago and it's a young adult and I really want to read this. It's Love and Gelato and the cover is so cute. I love this cover. And I don't know, I just wanted to read this for ages, but I've been waiting for summer to read this because it is, you know, a summery book. This is another book that I bought ages ago and I spent so much money on this because when I got it, it was the first, like, these like discreet covers had just come out and it was like so expensive for the whole series, but I did buy the whole series. And it is Throttled by Lauren Asher and it is the first book in the Dirty Air series. I actually have the other books like right here on my shelf. I love these covers so much and I just haven't gotten around to reading this yet. I think it's something to do with like the book is so dense and like heavy and the pages are very bright. They're like white pages. Like compare it to like normal book pages. Like, I don't know if you can tell. They're like so white and I prefer this look. I do want to try and read this before the end of the year because I've heard a lot of good things and I am really excited to read this, but we'll see. Okay, these last 3 books I'm going to talk about together and you'll understand why when I talk about them. I am so nervous to say that I've never read one of these books before. And they are these 3. So embarrassed. So we've got Beach Read, You and Me on Vacation, or People We Meet on Vacation. This book has 2 different titles. This is the UK and Australia one, I believe, and it's You and Me on Vacation. And the US one is People We Meet on Vacation. So if you're looking at this thinking, what is that book? It's People We Meet on Vacation, but I know it as You and Me on Vacation. And book lovers. I have had these books for so long. This is definitely one of my priority ones. I think I will definitely read this summer because a lot of people that I have the same taste in books as loved this book, and so I just think that I'm gonna love it. I think I'm gonna love all of these actually, and I'm so ashamed to say that I've never read a single Emily Henry book, so I need to read these like now. That is the conclusion of all of the books that I need to read before the end of the year. So I'm just gonna pause now and go grab the other books that I'm gonna talk about quickly, and I'll be right back. Oh my god, in the process of grabbing all of these books, there was a spider on one of them. I hate spiders. I get so scared, especially if they're really little ones and I feel like they could crawl in my ears and stuff. I don't know where it is now. It's somewhere, either on me or like in this room. We're just going to pretend that that's not happening right now and go ahead and talk about these books that I have no motivation to read. So to start with, I'm going to talk about The Hating Game. Now, I bought this when it was very popular on Book Talk. Everyone was talking about it, everyone was loving it, and I bought it and then never read it. The storyline just doesn't intrigue me. I've seen so many bad reviews of people just saying that it's boring and that they didn't like it. So, I don't know. Next, this one, up until a few days ago, I was really excited to read. It was literally a couple of days ago. This one girl that I follow on Instagram and TikTok, she posted it on her Snapchat actually. She was reading it and she said it was really boring and she didn't really like it. And then one of my close friends, Gracie, read it and she was struggling not to DNF it. And that is If We Were Villains. It's been so talked about, I've been so excited to read it, but then 2 people who sort of have similar tastes in books to me didn't like it. I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like it anymore. So onto the fantasy section. We have The Iron King, which one of my friends read a while ago and she really liked it and recommended it to me, and I bought it, and now I just don't have any motivation to read this. It was sort of like she read it and I bought it at a time when I was motivated to read it and I was interested in the concept, but then I didn't end up reading it, so now I'm not interested in reading it anymore. Next, we have A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which I actually did read a few pages of this a while back. Hated the writing style, put it back on my shelf, and never picked it up again. I just don't have any motivation to read it anymore. This one was one that I actually knew nothing about when buying it. I sort of just thought the cover was really pretty, bought it, and now I just don't know, because I don't know anything about it. I don't know if I'll actually like it, and that is Sorcery of Thorns. Look how pretty that cover is though. I don't even have anything to say about this. I just bought this because I liked the cover and had heard a few things about it, but I didn't actually know anything, like I didn't actually know what it was about. So if you've read this or you know what it's about, please tell me in the comments, because knowing what this is about might actually convince me to read it. But as of right now, I don't know what it's about. I have no interest. This is the last fantasy book that I have to talk about, and then I'm going to talk about a whole other topic. This last fantasy book is Serpent and Dove. Again, bought this because I saw it on TikTok, have no idea what it's about. It's also a thick one, and I don't know what it's about, so I'm not motivated to read it. The postman just drove past, and he was on a little bike, like a little motorbike thing, and he was playing music. That's so weird. I've never heard anyone do that. That's so fun though, because reading the back, I'm like, yeah, I do actually want to read this. This is what I do to myself. I literally sit here and I'm like, I have no interest in this book, and I don't even like give it a second glance. I don't give it the time of day to like leave and read the back. And then now I'm sitting here and I'm like, bound as one, a witch and a witch hunter to love, thrust together in thrust. I'm sitting here saying, I don't have the motivation to read this, but then I convince myself to read it. There's some books that the back, it just bores me, but then I read the actual book and I'm like, yeah, I actually liked this. So I'm more of a, I need someone to tell me to read this, or I need to see a video that convinces me to read it. But you know, this one I just sort of convinced myself to read. But still, if you read this, tell me about it in the comments. If it was bad, tell me about that too, because if it's bad and not worth my time, if any of these books are bad and not worth my time, please tell me, because then I just won't read them. So those are all of the books that I need to read by the end of the year, and also the books that I have no interest in reading anymore since I bought them. I have a whole lot of other books that I have no interest in reading since I bought them, but those are kind of like the top ones. I'm gonna wrap up this video now. And the first thing I want to say is, if you watched this far, thank you. I appreciate you so much. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, you should subscribe. I'm going to try and upload a new video every single week, but because I'm a little anxious girly and I am a little bit depressed sometimes, I don't know what's gonna happen next week. I don't know how I'm gonna be feeling, so I'm gonna try my best to upload every week. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna upload this like fairly soon, I think, and then I'll just try my best to film one every week. This was not my plan. My plan was to pre-film a bunch of videos and then start uploading them when I've got into a routine of filming them every week. But I'm not doing that. I'm just impulsively gonna post a video. I'm just way too excited to start posting. As I said, if you made it this far, thank you and I appreciate you. And let's see how many of these books I can finish by the end of the year and how many of these books I can get convinced to keep and read. But again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you hopefully next week.